Shalom, everyone. Welcome to another Hidden Truth. And today we're going to be talking about the vaccines. Why should we take the vaccines? That is the big question. Looking at the track record of America, where has America built confidence with the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans where we should trust that these vaccines are in our best interests? But before we get into what happened in Tuskegee, let's see what the word says about the physician.
Honor a physician with the honor due unto him, for the uses which ye may have of him, for the Lord hath created him.
And I wanted to remind everyone that common sense has to come into play. If you get in a car accident, if you get shot, if you get in a situation where you need a physician, obviously the Lord is showing us to use your brains. The physician is there for a reason. Now, there is a flip side of this coin that we were talking about earlier. All the lies, deception, and falsehood that America perpetuates. But this time, it's been in the medical industry. That takes us to Job 13:4.
But ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value.
In 1932, they launched a massive experiment in Tuskegee, Alabama. The town had already possessed a small hospital, and the area was home to a large population of potential participants. The PHS collaborated with local doctors and nurses to recruit roughly 400 black men presumed to have non-contagious late-stage syphilis, as well as 200 non-syphilitic black men for their control group. But their recruitment plan centered on a lie.
His mouth is full of cursings and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity.
Now we're seeing why it says physicians of no value. Look at their intentions and their deception. So yes, we definitely supposed to look out and watch and see how and why they're doing things. But this isn't even the tip of the spear.
They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them?
Why should we trust an insidious nation that has proven over and over that they will not look out for the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans' best interests? So if you're asking me, should I take the vaccine? History is showing us why not to trust them.
Never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness.
In the 1940s, U.S.-led studies in Guatemala infected numerous prisoners, sex workers, soldiers, and mental health patients with sexually transmitted infections to study potential treatments. And other studies throughout the 50s and 60s saw doctors secretly infecting patients with viral hepatitis and even cancer cells. Eventually, researchers began objecting to these unjust experiments. In the late 1960s, an STI contact tracer named Peter Buxton convinced the PHS to consider ending the study. But after leadership decided against it, Buxton sent his concerns to the press. In July of 1972, an expose of the Tuskegee study made headlines across the country. Following public outcry, a federal investigation, and a lawsuit, the study was finally shut down in 1972.
The instruments also of the churl are evil. He deviseth wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words, even when the needy speaketh right.
The cruel intentions of the so-called white man have shown every step of the way that their intentions are to hurt and harm our people, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And medical racism, scientific racism, has shown through the centuries.
Sponsored by the U.S. government. So here's the apology. We deeply regret that it happened, and we apologize to all the to all the individuals who were affected by such abhorrent research practices. I know it's almost like you don't know what to say.
And we think about, you remember the Tuskegee Institute, the research there that they did on African Americans. Before we get to that, we'll get to that part of it. Why did it take 60 years to come to light?
It's taken over 60 years because America is known for moving in darkness. And a lot of these things don't come out until the Most High reveals them. If you leave it up to them, it will go over centuries: bloodshed, death, lies, and corruption. Now, that takes us to the beginning of this.
It starts with slavery. Doctors relied on slave owners for financial stability. They accompanied plantation masters to auctions to verify the fitness of slaves and were called in to treat sick slaves to protect their owners' investments. In 1807, Congress abolished the importation of slaves and in turn pushed black women to have more children, to essentially breed slaves. Founding Father Thomas Jefferson later wrote, "I consider a woman who brings a child every 2 years as more profitable than the best man on the farm."
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he hath destroyed thee.
First of all, the biblical prophecy is true. And this is how we know who the chosen are, who the Israelites are. But we're not seeing also who he is. That this man, this beast, this nation has been nothing but our enemy. So you're telling me to once again go trust the enemy when we know in the year 2021 his intentions have not shown any change. Let's keep going down the rabbit hole, because I'm sure any moment now the Hippocratic Oath will be in consideration from these doctors. Let's see.
At the edge of Central Park in Manhattan, there's a bronze statue of a doctor named James Marion Sims, whose brilliant achievement carried the fame of American surgery throughout the entire world. He's the guy who created the vaginal speculum, an instrument gynecologists use for examination. He pioneered the surgical repair for fistula, a complication from childbirth, and became known as the father of modern gynecology. But that brilliant achievement was the result of a series of excruciating experimental surgeries that he conducted on enslaved women.
Did you catch it? This is supposed to be the father of modern gynecology. And we supposed to trust the Faucis and the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation? You got to be out of your mind. Let's go on, though.
Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him.
These devilish intentions have not quit and have not let up. It's a unremorseful nation, and this is why you cannot trust them. So, what's the answer to the question? No, I wouldn't trust them with my life.
Keep me, O Lord, from the hand of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man, who have proposed to overthrow my going.
To doctors like Sims, who contributed to a long, largely overlooked history of institutional racism in medicine. He eventually performed 30 operations on Anarcha and more surgeries on about 11 other female slaves. When his male colleagues could no longer bear to assist him in inflicting pain on the women, the slaves took turns restraining one another. Yet paintings depicting Sims, Anarcha, and other slave women presented a subdued version of his experiments. Even though anesthesia was introduced in 1846, Sims chose not to use it for his experimentation with slaves.
But the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel.
We're going to focus in on the second point of that scripture. It's only when you're looking for that mercy, when you called over the police officer and things turned sour, but you called for help. When you asked for the public defender and you're not getting the defending. When you're looking for mercy from the doctor and he's not being compassionate. It's these things that show and prove all the time in America that America has not changed. So, no, biblically, it says never trust thine enemy. Now, there's a lot of information we didn't bring out on this. If you want a second part, say it in the chat. Let us know, and we will do the second part. There's way more information that needs to come out to show and prove America's debauchery, madness, and wickedness that's been committed over centuries. So we ask that you like, share, subscribe. Let's get this out to the people, to show them, to prove to them, and give them the facts of what is going on in this world. Shalom.